Welcome to the Chronological Bible Journey, where we discover God's whole story one day at a time. I'm Michael. I'm here with Noah today. We are going to be your guides as we discuss the fruit of the Spirit in Galatians chapter 5. It's day 318, Noah. Let's do this.
Michael, there's so much, so many things that we could talk about in today's reading, but I want us to spend, like you said, our time together looking specifically at the fruit of the Spirit. This is something that we hear about quite often, and something that we always learn about, but it's not very often that we really dive in deep into what the fruit of the Spirit actually is, and I think just as importantly, what it is not. So let's begin reading at Galatians 5, verse 16. He writes, "So I say, let the Holy Spirit guide your lives. Then you won't be doing what your sinful nature craves. The sinful nature wants to do evil, which is just the opposite of what your spirit wants. And the Spirit gives us desires that are opposite of the sinful nature desires. These two forces are constantly fighting each other, so that you are not free to carry out your good intentions." Michael, he's saying there is a war. If you're a believer, there is a war that is going on inside of you.
I have felt that many times where the initial thought or desire that comes in a situation probably would not be the best thing for me to do.
And even though we're sometimes quick to recognize that, it's still hard for us to make the right decision sometimes because we are so drawn towards what our flesh and what our natural self desires, our sinful nature desires. And Paul says otherwise, and elsewhere in the New Testament, he's like, hey, I don't do the things that I want to do, and the very things that I don't want to do, I find myself doing. And that we can all relate to that.
Which is oddly encouraging to hear Paul say that.
Exactly. But when we look at what this is teaching us, is there is a way that the Spirit wants to lead us, and there's a way that our sinful flesh wants to lead us, and they are directly opposed to one another. And what that means is anytime you are walking in the direction of the flesh, you are walking away from the Spirit. And anytime you're walking towards the Spirit, you are walking away from your flesh. You cannot walk towards the flesh and the Spirit at the same time. They are diametrically opposed to one another. Bible goes on to say, when you follow the desires of your sinful nature, the results are very clear. He's saying it's obvious. Like I don't have to tell you what the results are and the types of actions that are the flesh. But then he goes on and gives a sample list, and the list is obviously more than this, but he says it's things like sexual immorality, impurity, lustful pleasures, idolatry, sorcery, hostility, quarreling, jealousy. And sometimes we get to that point and we're like, I feel pretty good about myself. Like I don't engage in all of that stuff. But then he digs in a little deeper. Outbursts of anger, selfish ambition, dissension, division, envy, drunkenness, wild parties, and other sins like these. All of these things are what the flesh wants to lead you towards. And it's easy for us to look at it and say, yeah, sexual morality, idolatry, sorcery. Yeah, let's be done with that.
Hey, I've not done any sorcery anytime lately.
But what about outbursts of anger, selfish ambition, division among ourselves, envy, jealousy, all of these things, and things like that? Those are things that, according to this list, are just as bad as these other things. It's the work of the flesh. It is the fruit, if you will, of the flesh. When you engage in the flesh, this is what you get, and this is what you end up with. But he goes on to say, the fruit of the Spirit produces this kind of fruit in our lives: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. There is no law against these things. And such a different list than the first list that we see there. And we see that list, and if we're honest, sometimes we feel a lot of pressure from this list, and because it feels like, oh, this is a checklist of how I'm supposed to live my life. This is a checklist of what it means to be a good Christian. Is I think sometimes how we interpret a list like this. But I think there's several things we can learn from this, and that is not one of them. The first here is that the fruit of the Spirit results from the Spirit, not from the flesh.
Wait, you're saying that the fruit of the Spirit, I can't produce that? Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. It is not in you. What did Jesus say in John 15? Abide in me, and I'll abide in you. Apart from me, you can do
nothing.
And so you cannot produce this fruit on yourself. This is not an issue of effort. This is not an issue of, well, Michael, you just have to be better. You have to be stronger. You have to be a better Christian. And the reality is that anything that you try to do in your flesh is only going to end up on that first list.
Yeah.
And you're going to end up maybe not in sorcery, but you will end up angry. You're going to end up jealous. You're going to end up dividing with one another. That is what our flesh can bring to the table. The fruit of the Spirit results from the Spirit. He says, let me tell you, this is the kind of fruit that the Holy Spirit produces in our lives. So the fruit of the Spirit comes from the Spirit, not from the flesh. But also the fruit of the Spirit is the result, not the cause. And what I mean by that is this. This is not a checklist of things that we are supposed to accomplish in order to be a good Christian. This is not what we need to do in order to be close to God. This is not the things that you have to have straight in your life if you want to be a person, when God looks at you, he approves of your life. What this is the result of somebody who is walking with the Spirit. We don't have to do these things in order to walk with the Spirit. We have to walk with the Spirit in order to do these things. And that's hard for us to comprehend sometimes, because we like to try to fix things and try to be good enough in our lives.
And we like to check boxes. Yeah. We like to look at the day and be like, oh, I was kind today, or I was good today, because that's a lot easier to connect with than going, am I truly pursuing the Lord with everything that I have?
Yeah, exactly. It's cleaner. It's easier to check the box, but that's not what this is. The reality here is, as we look at the fruit of the Spirit and we find that something's missing in us, the answer is not to try to go be more loving or to be more patient or to be more whatever. The answer is to go slow down and go spend more time with Jesus, abiding with Jesus, because it's only then when we walk by the Spirit, when we're walking with the Lord. John 15, we realize there's a garden metaphor there. The Lord is the only one that can garden in our lives and produce the fruit in our lives. It's only when we're connected to him that we can bear much fruit. And this is the kind of fruit that he will bear in our lives. So the fruit of the Spirit is the result. It is not the cause. The last thing I want us to look at is the fruit of the Spirit is singular, not plural.
Now, are you saying that we can't say fruits of the Spirit? Is that what you're meaning right here?
Fruits of the Spirit. And here's the thing. If I look at if you have a banana on this table with us, you would say that is a fruit. And if I had a bunch of bananas, you would say that is fruit. In the English, fruit could be singular or plural. In the Greek, and I'm not a Greek scholar, but I know
which we have discussed before.
I know how to read books by people who are much smarter than I am. The word that is used for fruit here is distinct in the Greek between plural and singular. It is a singular word. And what that means is this is not all the different types of fruit that God produces in our life. We are not a tree, if you will, that has love, joy, peace, patience, all these different types of fruit that you might pick. What this is saying is the fruit, the singular fruit, the result of what the Lord produces in your life looks like all of these things. And so if you look at it and you go, I've got love, joy, peace, patience. Oh, I don't have goodness. I don't have gentleness. I don't have self-control. It's not like, well, I'm doing pretty good. No, like the fruit that you have in your life at that point is not the kind of fruit that the Holy Spirit produces. Because the kind of fruit that he produces looks like all of those things. And once again, this is not a checklist, but I do think it is a mirror. It's an opportunity for us to hold this up and to look at this and allow it to examine us back and to ask the question, do I have love in my life? Do I have joy? Do I have whatever these things are in my life? And if the answer is no, then the answer we have to come to grips with is that the Lord is not able, for whatever reason, to fully produce the kind of fruit in our lives that he wants to produce. And maybe that's sin in our lives. Maybe we're resisting. Maybe we're just not slowing down enough and having that Sabbath that we've read about so much this year to allow the Lord to work on our lives and to build that into us. So I want to encourage you, as you're listening today, take time, read through the fruit of the Spirit and ask the Lord, is there anything missing here in my life? And I guarantee you, he will point it out to you very quickly. And then just take that back to the Lord and ask him to develop that in your life. And just spend time with Jesus. Don't try to strive to be better or to be more. Simply strive to be with Jesus. And when you do it, you will walk with the Holy Spirit and he will produce that fruit in your life.
What a great reminder today that we don't need to try and produce this fruit in our lives, but we need to go to the one who does. Thank you, Noah. Hey, thank you for joining us again today on the Chronological Bible Journey. If you're new and joining us, be sure to give us a thumbs up, a like, and just to let us know that you are following along, because we are so glad that you are on this journey with us. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow.